Hi guys, as promised, this is another video. This one's going to be about my journey with cancer. I know a lot of you have been following on various different platforms, but obviously I want to group it all on YouTube now so we can just stick to one subject where possible. So, I mean, if I go back to when I was a kid first, around about 3 years old, I suffered with an esophagus issue that affected my eating. I was being violently sick when I was about 3, and obviously nobody seemed to know what was wrong with me because I was 3. So basically, I was intolerant to lots of different foods, and one of the doctors, obviously this is the early 90s, put it down to attention deficit disorder. So this went on for a while. And then, my mum had enough and took me in and said, he's really poorly. And I about 3 months later ended up having an operation. So basically, they cut my stomach open and managed to close my esophagus, the gut area. It was constantly open and spilling and things that you didn't see. The doctor that performed the procedure said he'd never performed it on a child before and couldn't guarantee anything. So obviously that wasn't good. It was either that or medication for the rest of my life, which would have affected all sorts of aspects, working, playing football, all these things wouldn't have been available to me. So my mum decided and my dad that, it was the best course of action at the time. And it worked. But they said it might not last forever. It's dependent on how Adam grows, how he eats, how he drinks. I've always been aware of it. I've always suffered with digestive issues, but to the main, it's worked. It's given me a long period of time where it's been fine. So yeah, there's that. I'll show you the scar actually. Yeah. If you can see through my 6-pack, that's where it is. So basically I've been reasonably well since then, and then we kind of wondered as a family if it was connected. Obviously cancer in our family is a bit rife at the minute. My auntie's had it, my dad's had it, and now me. And we wanted to know if there was any connection between any of that and my esophagus. And there wasn't really. They don't really know, but you have a test to see if it's linked, and it wasn't for me, and it's not hereditary. But they did say that about my dad with me, so I'm not sure. Basically, the doctor ruled out the fact that I'd had that as a child probably didn't cause it, but it wouldn't have been helpful. Gas, like acids in my stomach, would have eventually got back through into the lining of my stomach and into my esophagus and can cause cancer. So, but they can't be sure, and that's fair enough. So if we go back to June this year, just before the Euros, I was okay, I was fine, and then I just got ill all of a sudden. So I had pain in my liver here. I was sweating at night. I was losing weight, obviously, and I had pain in my shoulder. That's where it first started. So it felt like I'd pulled something. It felt like something was out of place. So at the start, I was like deep heating and stuff like that. It didn't work. I can remember on the Sunday, which would have been the 15th, I went to the A&E because my mum told me to. And England were playing, and I was desperate to watch it because there was no other football on. And I went and sat in there for like 2.5 hours in pain, couldn't breathe. And then I went in and they basically put me on a ECG because they thought it was my heart. I said to the nurse, it's not my heart. Like, I know it's not. So basically, the doctor theorized it was my gallbladder. She said it's quite common in people your age. So she put me down as being fit to go home at the time, which was. I went home, watched England and had a kebab, which probably wasn't the best idea, but pain continued the next day. Couldn't do anything. Couldn't turn in bed, couldn't get out of bed. So basically, the next step was to go back to the GP. She took all my bloods. She did a liver function test, and she put me on a waiting list for a ultrasound. So basically, after that, I was still unwell. Felt like I had the flu every day. And then I got the results back from my bloods. And basically, she said, you're fine. Your liver function's come back normal. Which it was. At the time, I was weeing normal, going to the toilet normal. There was nothing in there. There was no sign of jaundice. So anyway, this continued a couple of weeks, and then I went back to the doctors because I was just like, something's not right. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't work. I couldn't get out of bed. I was in too much pain. I just said to the doctor, you know, what's wrong with me? I'm never really ill, and it's been going on now for 3 weeks, and something's not right. And he just basically, you know, he was a nice enough guy. He's a 36-year-old lad, and he's like, you know, it's 9 times out of 10 it's going to be gallbladder, and you know, diet changes and stuff like that be good for you. You know, keeping stress free and stuff. But I just basically queried him about the ultrasound. I was like, well, I've been waiting 3 weeks. How long's the wait? Like, can you see it? And he said, you're on the list, and you know, it might be another 8 weeks. And I was like, 8 weeks of feeling like this? I can't do it. So basically, I went back to my mum, and she paid for a private scan, which was like 550 quid. And I was dreading it because it was the first intervention I'd had, and I just didn't know how it worked and stuff. But I went, had it done. Nice bloke did it, and he looked at my bladder for like 10 seconds, and then he was concentrating on my back. He was like moving it around on my back, on the side, around my lung, and I was like, what's he looking at? And then I thought, I've got to ask him. So I just said, you know, is it my gallbladder? You know, can you see a stone in there? And he was like, no, mate. He was like, it looks pretty clear. But yeah, you'll get your results from your doctor. So I left, went back home, and then basically got a phone call 20 minutes later when I got to work saying, they've seen something on your liver. You need to come and see the GP. I was like, fuck's sake. So I went straight up there, sat down, and she basically said to me, you've got something on your liver, multiple things on your liver. And I was like, really? And she was like, but it doesn't mean it's cancer. She said, but I'm going to put you on a 28-day pathway for cancer. I was like, right, what do I do now? And she was like, well, you got to wait for an MRI, and you'll be referred to the function liver place at Nottingham Queen's Medical Centre Treatment Centre. I was like, okay. So this went on. Now, for anyone that's waited for an MRI, they don't come around quick. I think it was a Sunday evening. I went at 6 o'clock. Nobody in there. First time I'd ever had that done. Scared to death. Had to have an injection of, you know, nuclear summit to show things. And it was like 15 seconds long. It wasn't long. And then you have to wait for results. There's nothing you can do. They don't take you into the side room and tell you there and then. Basically, it goes to somebody else. It took 2 weeks for them to ring me and give me an appointment for the following week. So more waiting. We're up to about 15 weeks now. No treatment. Yeah, and then I saw the first liver consultant at Nottingham, and basically the guy was just mortified by everything that was happening to me. He was about my age, and obviously the more he learned about me, the more upset he got. His computer wasn't working when I got there. I've been waiting 35 minutes. He knew nothing about me. He didn't know any of my symptoms. He knew nothing. He was talking about getting me painkillers. He was talking about getting this, getting a disabled badge. I was like, slow down, bro. Like, what are you on about? Anyway, so I saw him, and then he's like, right, we need to get you a liver biopsy because you've been waiting far too long. So basically, a liver biopsy involves you going into hospital like you would if you're having a theatre procedure. My mum went with me and was there for about 6 hours. And yeah, you're waiting and waiting and waiting. They're very busy. They do a lot of liver biopsies. So but you can have it awake, or you can be like in a trance. And I just wanted to be awake because I wanted to get the hell out of there as soon as it was done. So they wheel you through the hospital in front of everybody, which is fantastic. I managed to sneak my trainers on because the nurse was like, you can't take them in there, you can't take them in there. And I was like, well, I'm not wearing your slippers, Duck. So I had my Air Jordans on, having a liver biopsy. I don't think they've ever seen that before. The nurse that did it was really nice. She's I've seen her a couple of times since, and she's lovely, amazing person. The doctor was really good, and he was really pleased with what he'd done. It was like he'd solved my issue, and he was happy with it. He just said, you know, I've got 2 really good samples. So the way it works is they put a needle in your side there, just below your rib cage, and then he puts a pipe in with like a cutting tool on, and he clips the tumour, pulls it out, the samples go. So basically, he warns you. He's like, it's like a cap gun when it goes off. I was like, what do you mean? So basically, he just said, I'll do it in the room because some people freak out. So he put it in the air and he fired it, and it literally just goes boing, and it's the most awful sound. to hear in your own body, it echoes in your head. So we did that, 2 good samples, got him out. I have to wait 4 hours. You have to lie on your back in case you bleed out. But I was fine after, just took some painkillers, had a sandwich, got up, went to the toilet, they were happy. And we left. So basically waited another 3 weeks, saw a different liver consultant, and this is where things kind of picked up a bit. So basically, it was a lady, and we were waiting again to see her for 3 weeks, and then she was a lot better than the first guy. I think she's used to these kind of conversations with people. So she'd had a look at everything. She knew I had family. She knew this, that, and the other. And yeah, she looked at my scans, and she'd spotted that there was a thickening on my esophagus wall. So at that point, we didn't know that, and obviously nobody knew that. She spotted it and said that I want you to have a PET scan and I want you to have a endoscopy. So basically, it wasn't a question, it was you doing it, Adam. And that was to avoid being under best guess chemo ward, because they didn't know where it was. That's what you get referred to. I didn't know what that was at the time. I still don't, but obviously it exists, and it's used more than you think. So basically, I got diagnosed with upper gastric cancer that spread to my nodes and then into my liver through my blood. We had a conversation with her, obviously very upsetting, being told that you're basically waiting now for whatever will be, will be. You know, Liz was there, my mum, and it wasn't nice. You know, as a bloke, you sit there and your body just, your shoulders drop and you just feel cold to your core. You feel cold. And then obviously you start thinking about everything. You're thinking about, you know, your kids growing up without a dad, not ever meeting your grandchildren, you know, not being there for my mum or my sisters. Because at the end of the day, I'm the head of the family now since my dad left. And, you know, it's not easy. And they were both crying, and I just stayed strong as blokes do. You know, we suck it up, don't pull our socks up, and we get on with it. But once she learned, obviously, about my situation, she was really good, the woman. She just said, she's not an oncologist. She's not trying to say, oh, you need that treatment or this treatment. So basically, she suggested that I go for these things that she wanted me to have done. So I went for the PET scan, which was really nice. It's like a spa in there. And realistically, they should have done that a long time ago. I don't know why they didn't, and I'll be looking into that. And then the endoscopy, she does endoscopies. So luckily, she's like a dual doctor that does both. So she'd spotted it because she looks for it. So I went in, I managed to get on her list on the Monday, and she did it. She was fantastic. I had about 4 pipes down my throat, 2 cameras. She was hacking away at this thing in my throat that was purple, flat to the surface. I see it on the camera. It was quite funny, really, because I was still joking around before and after, like I do. I like to make people feel comfortable. So when she took everything out, the nurse's face was like white. She was like, oh God, I've done something wrong. She looked at her and she was like, can I get the images transferred, please, so we can look at this? And the woman was like, oh, someone's reset the system. And she was like, well, what does that mean? She was like, well, there's no pictures, there's just video. And she was like, not happy. She was like, what did she say? She said, that's really, really, really poor. And she was like, it was like she wanted to swear, like it was that bad. And the girl's face was mortified. And as I sat up and I was having a drink of water, I just spat out, oh, so we've got to do it again then, yeah. And everyone just laughed and it was over. So then I had to sit for 2 hours, wait for her to come out after she'd finished her shift. And then she basically said, I think it's that, Adam. I think it's your esophagus. And it spread to your liver. She didn't really have much more information than that. I asked her about vaping, drinking. She was like, no. I told her about my esophagus. She was like, possibly it might be linked. But yeah, that was that really. And then since then, that was end of September. I started chemotherapy at the end of October. Knew it was going to be tough. I know all about chemo from my dad and my auntie and various other people. The wards down there are really good. You know, they're purpose built for that. It's tiring. It's draining. It's mentally draining. It's physically draining. Obviously, everyone's watching you go through it, and they don't want you to see you go through it. You won't wish it on anyone. And yeah, but I'm coping with it reasonably well. Not mentally, but physically. I think the consultant's quite shocked. Not shocked, but quite optimistic with me. She's like a mad professor. She's always got ideas up her sleeve. And basically, first time I walked in, I think she meant it as a compliment. Never met me, didn't know who I was. And I sat down and I'm just chatting away, having a laugh. And she just said, I expected you to be a bit worse than this, Adam. And I was like, what do you mean? She just said, by now, with your sort of growth of tumour, you would be very fatigued and quite dazed. And I was like, no, I'm fine. Yeah, so I've seen her 3 times. She rings me a lot. And I think it's my age. I genuinely do, because the demographic for my sort of cancer is usually over 50. And the survival rate's terrible. And I know people with it, and they don't get offered treatments. They have to do their own thing. And I know for a fact the people that look at the scans, because I know somebody who sits in the back making appointments, it's basically a conveyor belt of people, and they just swipe left and right on iPads looking at scans. Don't get me wrong, very clever people, but they work under the NHS, certain rules, and they either get offered treatment or they don't. And it just comes down to them ticking a box. So it ain't nice. You know, I'm not saying they're doing it on purpose, but it's all to do with money. It's all to do with, you know, how many people need treatment in the hospital, how many chemo bags they can make up, and whether the treatment is worth it. Because at the end of the day, if you're over 50, your chances of a strong chemo go down significantly, because it's a waste for them. It's a waste of resources, waste of nurses' time. It's a waste of a bag of chemo, and they don't offer the treatment. So I said to the oncologist when we were in the meeting with the second consultant, you got to give me something positive to think about. I said, I'm a positive guy and I'm drained. And she just said, she shouted from the back of the room. She was like, Adam, you need to get out this zone you're in. You're being offered treatment and a lot of people don't. So she knows the score. I met eligibility. That's what I did, which is ridiculous. It must be a tick box. Yeah, so I mean, the nurses have been fantastic, ringing me all the time. They've got a dedicated ward for people who are having chemo. If you have any issues, they obviously don't want you to get sepsis. So they call you in and they put you straight on antibiotics, and you've got your own room and you see a doctor whenever you want. You know, and it's brilliant. You can't ask for anything more. You don't have to go to A&E. You don't have to queue. My dad had to go to A&E every time he was ill, like 4 times. And it's just crap because you're waiting in beds in wards for a bed, and it's just rubbish. Yeah, so up to now, I've had 2 chemos, and she wants me to have 4. And then I think the plan is to reduce the dose as we go so I can have it for longer. She sees it as prolongment of life. I'll be back in a sec. Sorry about that. I was going to show you my consent form for chemo, which is interesting in its own right because it's complicated. You have to agree with the NHS what you're having and what it's for. They don't pull no punches. They tell you exactly why they're giving it, but you have to agree to it. There's like 57 side effects of chemotherapy, depending on which one you're having. Obviously, everyone knows the popular ones like hair loss. But mine causes other things that I'll say soon. So basically, there's a list of 5, I think, different areas of why they give chemo. The top ones, you've got the best chance of being cured. Second one is keep it under control, then cure it. And then third one is new treatment that potentially could get you up a level, basically. And then the last one's palliative. So basically, prolongment of life. as long as possible. And that's the one I've been ticked and signed and agreed to. And the nurses, the worst thing is you have to have this conversation like 3 times. And the nurse at the ward before she put my chemo in said, "Do you know why you're having this?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "Why?" I was like, "Prolongment of life." And she went, "That's correct." So at least it wasn't like, "Oh, yeah, you know, keep me alive because I'm going to die," because that wasn't the case. It was quite nicely put by her. But yeah, so this takes us up to now, basically. And the weird thing is, I feel a lot better than I did. Feel physically stronger, mentally stronger. I don't have symptoms like I did when I was not getting treatment. I was awful. I felt awful. Couldn't like do anything. It just wasn't nice. Couldn't do things with the kids. Couldn't do things with Liz. Simple things. And you're hiding it from your kids. And you know when they're 8, 6, and 2, it's just not great. So you know that's why I'm doing things now, making memories now while I'm well. That doesn't mean I'm going to get ill. It just means I want to do it now, make the memories. So you know that's why I started the page up, the GoFundMe, and basically, you know, didn't beg for money, but just said if anyone wants to chuck a tenner in towards what I'm doing, I'd be grateful. And yeah, obviously that tenner then became 10,000, as I knew it would with Leeds fans. Just incredible support. I feel lucky because I've got 70,000 people who follow me, and people don't have access to that. I've never tapped into its core and used people for things like this. I've always shared other people's GoFundMes. I was looking back at ones I've supported through the page, and they've raised quite a lot of money. And I look at them now, and all the people that we've supported have, you know, managed to get what they were looking for. One of them was a young lad too. It reminded me of my second because he had meningitis. And he was raising money because he just couldn't work. And I know the feeling because I've sat on that ward with my little boy and I couldn't go to work. You can't, because you need to be there for your partner and your child, and no one's going to pay you for that. And you could be there for months, and you need, you know, to pay your mortgage, your rent, whatever it is. And we help do that as a lot. You probably can't even remember, but you know, a lot of people chucked in some money to that, and I think he got up to £25,000, and it's incredible from people. It's just incredible. So I mean, I'll pop my link in below again. Most of the money's gone. The wedding, obviously, Liz got exactly what she wanted, which is this Saturday. A dream dress, dream venue, dream restaurant. You know, everyone's invited, paying for the meals. You know, exactly what you'd expect. You know, she's got a car for the day, which is great. Kids have all got suits. All my nephews got suits. It's going to be funny, so I'll take some photos. And then obviously the rest of the money, I'm just planning ahead. So I've mentioned before, Christmas is a big thing for me. As a child, I love Christmas. And we're going to Centre Parks with my family, which will be great. And yeah, obviously taking a lot of presents with us. But I've bought a lot of stuff already. I've spoiled them bloody rotten. I've made the conservatory into a pool room because I was in the pub the other week and they were playing pool. It just reminded me of me and my dad. I was like, "I'm getting a pool table, Liz." She was like, "Where are we going to put it?" I was like, "Anyway, I don't care." So I'm selling some stuff. I've sold my treadmill, my exercise bike, because no matter how much I eat at the minute, I don't gain weight anyway. I'm selling some old clothes. A lot of people probably see on social media I'm quite well dressed. But that's prior to me obviously being ill. A lot of it was my dad. My dad was into Moncler. Came up to Leeds at one point because the Moncler selection in Nottingham was crap. Always bought a jacket, always gave me little bits as well. But I've realised that I don't need those things at the minute. I don't need 6 Moncler coats, so I'm selling them. Don't feel bad about it because it goes towards my children. It's fantastic. I've got that, you know, cushion of being able to buy the things now. I don't really fit in any of them, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, you know, we want to go to London. We're going to Whitby, going to the Leeds game. Love to stay the night in Leeds, which we'll be doing. Yeah, and lots of other things. Obviously, chemotherapy interrupts that because I'm ill afterwards. So it's every 3 weeks, but then she wants me to have a scan in Feb. So I assume I'll have a couple of months where I'm not actually on anything other than my holistic treatment, which I'm doing myself, which will be great. Hopefully I feel good. Whitby's a long way away, so I've got to drive. But I don't mind. I might get the train to Leeds because it's quite an easy train. Yeah, so that takes us up to now. So I'm going to overlay some pictures of me as a kid and stuff, and I'm going to overlay some pictures of what I'm talking about after this post-edit thing. And I just want to touch on everybody else. There's so many people messaging me. I'm getting so many friend requests from people from school because my sister's sharing a lot of things, and they're obviously seeing it, family, and they don't keep as updated as they keep you guys because I don't want to flood their timelines with my stuff. So, but they still get in contact and add me and follow the page and stuff. And yeah, obviously lots and lots of support, lots of, people just want to help, and it's overwhelming. And anything that's like, oh, I've got this holiday home, or I've got this, I've got that, you can have it. They just instantly hand it to you, just because you're a Leeds fan, and it's just mental to me. It's lovely, and I just want to thank everybody for that. And you've given me real fight. I've plastered quotes all over my house about fighting. Obviously, the Square Ball sent me keep fighting package, and I don't know how they got my address, but Michael's a sneaky one. So, he might have some sort of Excel sheet with my name and then thought, well, that's him and he lives in Nottingham. So, yeah, I think that's what he's done. I don't mind. It was lovely because I was ill at the time watching Leeds with 3-0 up at half time, and that arrived and Liz went, what's this? And what you bought now? And I opened it and I was just blown away. I was just like, God, I'm so well loved. But yeah, that's it really. Not much more to say. Obviously, I'll keep everyone updated about my journey. That's what we're calling it. There was a lot of negativity around my dad when he was ill. He didn't handle it very well. Obviously, he was older than me and a lot iller than me, but he didn't accept any of the treatment. He wasn't. He couldn't. He was very ill, and it's not easy for people to do all these things. And he had a stint in, and he didn't like that. He was conscious of things, and my mum really, really tried with him, and he just couldn't. He couldn't do it. He couldn't take tablets. He'd been like that since he was younger. Anything over the size of a paracetamol, he really struggled. And obviously that doesn't help because, they probably offered him dissolvable, but it just takes time, doesn't it? And he didn't want to do it. And yeah, it just increased the chances that we were going to lose him. He wouldn't entertain an operation because I just don't think he wanted to. He just didn't want to. I had many chats with him about it, and they just didn't see him up for it. And obviously we lost him in the end. And for 5 years I've suffered with anxiety without even realising I've got anxiety. And it wasn't until I spoke to my GP and he said, to have some of these for a week. And I thought, oh God, happy pills. And it just went away. And I mean, it was the best thing I've ever done is stop drinking and concentrate on my health. And everyone else can do that. You don't have to get cancer to do it. 4 weeks, commit 4 weeks in the new year. See how you feel. You'll approach everything completely different mindset. You won't want to argue with anyone. You won't be stressed. You plan your days easier. It just makes everything in life a lot easier. And I mean, if I can do it carrying around tumours on my liver, I'm sure everyone else can. So just think of that when you want to give up, that I won't be giving up. So, I've been told that I could pass away 12 months, but they don't know me. They don't know who I am. They don't know how I'm approaching this. I won't be told that how my body's going to react to something. I'm going to fucking give it my all. Do you know what I mean? And I fight to stay with Liz as long as I can. Fight to stay with my kids. I want to watch them grow up. I want to watch Brody grow up. He's 2. Louis, amazing movies, football. I want to watch him go through that. I want to tell them off when they're caught smoking when they're 12. These stupid things. And that's where I want to be. I want at least 10 years to see all that. And hopefully I'm given that by the grace of God. So yeah, we'll end it there because we're up to 29 minutes. And then I'll be posting again probably after the wedding. So you'll see all the wedding stuff, photos, and probably post some stuff on Twitter and Instagram of the day. We've got blue roses, buttonholes, and blue Burberry ties from my mum. It leads colours because I said to Liz, no red on the day. I said the kids can wear red and I can wear red hats, but that's a Limp Bizkit thing. And bollocks to wearing red at my wedding because it ain't happening. There was no red at my dad's funeral. I made that fucking clear. So, you know, Leeds will be with me that day. Get me through. You know, I'm up for another 10-hour marathon. I was knackered after my stag do. I went straight to sleep. So hopefully, because I'm sat down most of the day, I can get through it. I bought some Guinness Zero to try because it's full of iron and something I can drink through the day, and it looks like I'm drinking. So, looking forward to that and a steak. All right, guys, take care. Thanks for watching.